Joe, memo akwa abashonko so edi aba POG Media so mistress afi and as a waba a channel no so subscribe like dwumadi no share na ma foforo and so ensanka be kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the any news bia to platform no so awon so wahunu de eko ene de eba yenko dwumadi nim na yemfa dwumadi no embra wa yeko eye Okudzeto eye ablakwa aya so e odinsam dodo bi ababa betudwa na one ibifa aye President Mahama the speech okomaye ewo aye UN oka ho asempa yi and owie nso na olimite edeba aye NPP for propaganda after the speech no any omo bi omo ya chese entwa yi no oka ho asem Okudzeto de ye nim so oba out no odinsem beto abonten a it's like a scandal so atias into so scandal ya na mema no nyede enyo because odinsem dodo na ide etudwa yenko nkonkuti abra Okudzeto edinsem dodo na etudwa from Mahama speech any NPP propaganda.
No, absolutely. This was a speech that was well received. He had intermittent applause. He was very warmly embraced by world leaders after the speech. He was told that he has really lifted the image of the continent. And let's be honest, if there has been any speech on the world stage in recent times that has restored the image of the black race, that has lifted high the spirit of the African people, and that has brought us renown, inspiration, and really elevated our consciousness and dignity. It is this address by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And I'm not surprised that he continues to receive very rare reviews, tremendous acclaim. A lot of analysts, international relation experts, pundits are all asserting in very clear terms that this will go down in history as one of the most consequential, the most seminal UN speeches ever delivered. And we have to really be proud as Ghanaians that President Mahama took to the global stage, went to the United Nations in New York, and did not embarrass us, did not let us down, did not just, make those mundane statements that will not give us the respect, the honor that we deserve. And you have heard many of our fellow Africans say that they could associate with President Mahama's address. And all over, they are commending Ghana, that Ghana stood up for the African people, but also stood up for the cause of justice. Because if you look at all the global issues President Mahama raised, these are issues that many have been hesitant to talk about, have been scared to talk about because of the, if you like, consequences, the rise in far-right politics.
Absolutely.
And how these nationalist leaders may take it out on you. But he was not afraid to say it as it is. And his famous expression that, look, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, we all know what it is. And on the Palestinian issue, he first and foremost reminded the international community that Ghana has always been on the right side of history, that we recognize the state of Palestine as far back as 1988. We have always been for the two-state solution, that it is totally abominable and detestable, irreprehensible to say that one state should not exist, and that you are going to wipe away a whole nation, a whole group of people, human beings, and that the UN's position, the two-state solution, which Ghana as far back as 1988, and we have been consistent, and we are always proud to remind everybody that in this country, we have given full diplomatic accreditation to the state of Israel and to the state of Palestine. And we are very proud of that. And so to see that this year, countries like France, Canada, the UK, Australia, Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Portugal, San Marino, and the others are all now recognizing Palestine and confirming, as President Macron did in that special session on Palestine, that they now fully associate with the two-state solution. We should feel very proud. And that is why ahead of the president's address, when some people were saying that he should stay away from the Palestinian situation and that it should not be our business, you know, I was totally appalled, and I have to salute, you know, a considerable number of Ghanaians who said that, look, Ghana's position on this matter since 1988 is the right way, and other countries are now, you know, seeing the light and commending us.
Now, it also raised an issue that, look, this was a slippery path that, you know, other world leaders, superpowers had stayed away from, and the president decided to go on this path. Wasn't he opening himself and the country to some risks? And I'm sure that you, the handlers, did you also assess the possible fallout and the mitigation measures that could be put in place if there is any fallout?
So certainly in coming to these decisions and these matters, you must look at the whole gamut of factors, and you must be well considered. You must be very analytical. But let us not forget that there are principles that we stand for. We stand for the rule-based order. We stand for freedom and justice, which is well ingrained in our coat of arms, in our DNA as a people. Because of our own history, we have gone through the transatlantic slave trade. We have gone through colonialism. So we are a people who hate oppression. And that is why even in our national anthem, in our national pledge, all of these principles are well established. We recite them always, that we will always stand and resist oppressors' rule. Now, if you look at Article 73 of our Constitution, which is clear, that at the end of the day, what should inform, what should undergird, what should really define our international relations, our foreign policy, should be our national interest. Our national interest cannot be delinked from our national history, from what we stand for, the principles that we have always espoused. And so when you look at it in that manner, in the full context, you will really stand up for the oppressed Palestinian people. Of course, we condemn what happened to the Israelis on October 7, and our government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, put out strongly worded condemnation. I mean, terrorism should have no place in our world. We should all commit to neutralizing terrorists and ending that scourge. But when there has been a terrorist attack, our position is that identify the perpetrators and bring them to justice. Don't take it out on innocent civilians, women and children. Over 60,000 lose their lives and millions are displaced, and you reduce people's settlements, people's livelihoods, what they have worked for all their lives, to rubble. I mean, and President Mahama was saying in another meeting, you know, bilateral meeting after his address, that he wonders what, you know, will happen to the state of Palestine, how all of that rubble will be cleared, where it will be cleared to, and how, you know, Palestine the Palestinian state will be rebuilt. So you see a certain vindication now. You notice that after President Mahama's address, which has been well received, and many leaders, aligning with his position, you see now that President Trump put out a 20-point plan.
In fact,
and last night
that's what I was going to get into,
we put out our formal position on the president's instruction on Ghana's position on President Trump's 20-point peace plan.
And that's why I started this conversation with you, because that's the latest. We received this statement before midnight last night, and this is it. That statement in support of President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. So you say Ghana supports this 20-point Donald Trump solution. This is what the statement is all about.
Yes.
Why the support exactly?
So this statement is very much consistent with President Mahama's address at the United Nations. President Mahama, if you recall, stated emphatically that the crimes in Gaza must stop. He didn't mince words at all. Mm-hmm. That's a verbatim quote from his address. The crimes in Gaza must stop. He called for de-escalation, that this genocide, and you heard Dr. Ibn Chambers very clearly, and before this UN address, Ghana had stated that we align with the position of the UN experts. I mean, we have scholars and experts on genocide who have concluded in a unanimous report that what is happening to the Palestinians is genocide and that it has to be called what it is. Now, this Trump 20-point Gaza peace plan calls for exactly what President Mahama is demanding.
Would it be an end to this tremendous suffering,
ceasefire,
and the loss of human lives?
This is clearly an olive branch being a
yo guswa ohwe ensam no edema message so be subscribe, like dwumadi and share na ma for friends when san can be kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the any news be at platform no so I won so well hunu de echo and the air but dwumadi no do na o ntie de do na ye de ebremu jebre na hwe dwumadi no fa my POG Media de ye to aso ye de ofam you no ebremu
extended. The Trump administration, which remember has a lot of leverage, they wield tremendous influence on Israeli politics, and Prime Minister Netanyahu listens to President Trump. So President Trump has the influence and the Trump card, no pun intended.
Yes.
Now, this 20-point peace plan, if you study the 20 points, which calls for an immediate release of the hostages on both sides from Hamas and then from the Israeli authorities, specific numbers have been provided, and for every hostage released by Hamas, 15 Israelis will be released. And then it calls for a de-radicalization of Hamas. It calls for a safe passage for Hamas to move out of Palestine to a country of their choice where they will be protected.
Yes.
The peace plan is also clearly stating that now the Palestinians and the Israelis can live side by side. Remember that this has become a contentious issue where Prime Minister Netanyahu said that it is his desire to abolish the Palestinian state, and that he does not think that the two-state solution is the way to go, really contradicting the UN position on this matter since 1948. I am delighted that this 20-point peace plan, and it's a major shift, we have to admit, even on US foreign policy. So it shows that all of the international pressure by President Mahama, those who have come on board, led by President Macron, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Norway, and others, clearly that pressure, is yielding results. So what this peace plan will do is to eventually lead to ceasefire and de-escalation, return of the people of Palestine who are seeking refuge in many places around the Middle East, And then, most importantly, it will begin to usher us into a rebuilding of Gaza. So it's a very significant development. It calls for a peace board as well.
Right.
And there's been some controversy, though, about the first person named, former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, who's been named to serve on the peace board. But clearly, when you look at our statement, you can see that Ghana is still conscious of a non-aligned role.
Okay.
So even though we are, and you see, your friends are those, and I've been telling my good friend, the Israeli ambassador, that the way we are brought up in this country, our culture, our way of life, you know, and the principles we stand for, a good friend is the one who is able to tell you that, look, this time you got it wrong. Because I love you, I care about you, this path you are taking is not the right path. And so we are not going to, as it were, cut ties with the Israelis, or if you like, reduce our bilateral cooperation. Neither are we going to say that we will stay away from the Palestinians. We will maintain cordial bilateral relations with both sides. We will deepen those ties. Indeed, we are doing a lot in terms of education, agriculture, and we have a lot of new cooperation that we are exploring. And I like how President Mahama quoted President Nkrumah during his address, that we seek to be friends of all and enemies to none. That has always been our raison d'etre, and it will continue to guide us, you know, as we pursue our foreign policy. And so the statement we put out last night on President Mahama's instruction was to really urge all factions, particularly Hamas, which, remember, that until this morning had not responded. Now Hamas has responded, and they are calling for some amendments, but it's a good step. And I think that the pressure that countries like Ghana and others who have come on board, France, UK, Canada, are demonstrating is the way to go.
Right.
And let us remember that all of us, I mean, people may be asking, okay, so how does this affect the ordinary Ghanaian? First of all, we must know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we allow certain principles to be established in world affairs, where might is right, because you are powerful, you have nuclear weapons, you have a strong army, you can invade a country, you can decide that some nation should not exist, and you can just descend and bomb them and all of that. And another significant development over the past few days has been Prime Minister Netanyahu apologizing to Qatar, to the state of Qatar. And remember that Ghana condemned the attack on Qatar, that it was certainly an affront to their sovereignty, and that should not have been done. Those who may have been wondering why Ghana did that, now with the apology from Prime Minister Netanyahu, you see that Ghana's foreign policy is very much on track, and that we are sticking to principle. And you see, it is not difficult. When you stick to principle, the rule-based order, respect for sovereignty, respect for the UN Charter, respect for human rights, these principles, once you stick to it, you will always be on the right side of history, on the side of the oppressed, of the vulnerable, and the Almighty will be on your side, and God will continue to bless you. So these things eventually come to help us, particularly those of us who are relatively small countries, who don't have some of the weapons and ammunitions and artillery and bombardment power that these countries have. So these are very good principles that help our country moving forward.
It was worth that you make this point, because when this statement was received, these were some of the reactions to it, which you have answered. I'm going to go for a quick break. And when we are back, the other issue, which really, when we advertised that you were coming to respond to this statement.
Aha, any of the Jumadie no ABC, and I'm on subscribe, like a Jumadie share, Nema for friends, and can be kindly click on the notification bell, no send a be any news be out of platform, no so also who the echo and the eba. Ya the Jumadie no ABC for fro, or when the DHA near Jumadie no, do not any embramo macram.